Congratulations,
Congrats, Ginger.
I'm excited because now I can listen to you before I go to school.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That's so sweet. You're listening to me instead of Tim Convey. That was my competition. Was Tim? She loves Tim Convey.
Mm-hmm. He's good,
Well,
too.
I have to go because I got tutoring, but I just want to say welcome to the morning.
Oh, honey, thank you for calling. I'll see you later. Thank you very much. Have a good day at school.
Dad, gotta go.
Isn't that sweet, Dad? I'm done.
He's a little sassafras.
A little sassy there on me, but that's good. Glad to get her to call. It very sweet of her.
She's so cute.
I told her Convey had switched to a different station of doing some stuff on Y98, so she made me change her clock radio so she could listen to that in the morning. And I'm like, wait a minute, but I'm on in the morning.
You better
what are you
listen
doing
to me,
here,
Ginger.
girl? Come on. Hey, let me get to my buddy Rodney Boyd, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, Rod the Bod, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. First of all, congratulations to you on taking over the reins of the morning show, man. This is going to be exciting and fun. And I love how kids and family always put everything back in perspective, right?
They certainly do. There's no doubt about that, man.
Love your dad. Got to go tutor now. Sorry.
That's fantastic.
I love
hey, you know
it.
what? I had Ann Wagner on a few minutes ago, and I was asking her about this Greitens deal because you've been pretty close to this down in Jeff City, and she called for his resignation, I think 2 weeks ago or something like that.
She did. Mark, you got, when we talk about Greitens, you and I, if we can keep it's three separate sort of sections of this conversation that are moving simultaneously at the same time. It is the criminal courts matters, which are the invasion of privacy charge, and now the new felony indictment for tampering with computer data, which is tied to the Mission Continues list. And there's a whole lot of issues within that sector that you could spend the rest of the year talking about in terms of the case. And then there is the political sector, which is split into two subcategories. The House of Representatives has an investigatory committee, and that committee released a report that caused you and I to have a lot of conversations about a week and a half ago. And now that committee is continuing its work, looking into allegations that were brought forward by the Attorney General, and he turned his stuff over to the Circuit Attorney's Office. And then there's the third sector that I'm most intrigued by because I'm removed from it, and that's what everyday Missourians, people who aren't in the political space, what they think about this. And it all ties into calls for resignation and whether or not the governor will sign down. The governor's been clear, Mark, he is not going to resign. He feels his day in court will actually now become a purging or a chance to rehabilitate his name. But all these things bleed together, and it's leading to this lack of legislative activity in Jeff City that most people want our legislator to focus on. So I don't think the governor's going to resign. I have no perspective on whether or not the impeachment process will actually come to fruition, which is what's being talked about a lot now in Jeff City. There are petitions for House members. Impeachment has to start in the House for your listeners, and they have to have 3/4 of a majority, or about 123 signatures out of the 163 to actually start the impeachment. To go into a special session.
Well, Rodney, let me have you put on your lawyer hat for a minute. When I see these charges, this latest set of charges that were brought up, recommended by the Attorney General relating to the theft of information from a computer, that to me, that sounds like you're really reaching, because didn't the governor's campaign admit to the use of this list and pay a fine for it like a year ago?
They did. You're very right. Early in administration, there was an allegation of not listing this list as a campaign contribution that came with a $1,000 fine, but the governor's office was only required to pay $100. It was kind of then seen as a pretty minor nominal effect. There must be something, and only time will tell, that the Attorney General's office in his investigation revealed that is far more felonious than that, because that would seem like it would be a massive waste of resources to prosecute for something that's been at least adjudicated. So what we're going to have to wait and see, Mark, is what did Josh Hawley give the Circuit Attorney's Office in St. Louis. He's also shared that information with the House Investigatory Committee. There has to be something that we in the public seat just hasn't seen that makes this a felonious matter worth charging. And it had to happen pretty quickly, because apparently the allegations occurred back in April of 2015.
Right.
And if she didn't bring the charges, then the statute was going to run.
Yeah, see, that's just all of it in its entirety. I've been consistent so far, saying I haven't seen anything that rises to the level of forcing him to be impeached that would meet the Article 7, Section 1 definition of that. This charge, I assume, might if it's connected to his election campaign. But again, at the time this list was taken, it seems to me like anybody could extrapolate how much money might have been raised off that list, and nobody charged him with it then, but suddenly they're charging it with him with it now. That just stinks to me.
With a few days to go before the statute runs, and I love the comment of his attorney, Ed Dowd, who's a very accomplished attorney, that he says, look, this is a list that he created from an organization that he created and built brick by brick. You can't steal something that you built. It will be interesting to see, Mark, what was in Josh Hawley's hands when he turned it over to Ms. Gardner, because what we've seen so far seems very, very surfacey and thin and consistent with the ethics fine that we knew about. So it has to be something that we haven't seen that triggered this new round of charges, or else this circuit attorney's office is going to have another series of questions to answer.
Yeah. Very quickly, Rodney, before I run out of time here, we're talking to Rodney Boyd. It's the 23rd of April. The legislative session ends in, 2.5 or 3 weeks?
We have 4 weeks basically from today to get a lot of legislative work done.
What can they possibly get done between now and then that's going to get signed by this governor?
Well, that's the challenge. The one thing they have to get done constitutionally is the budget. We have to pass a budget. It has to be balanced. It has to allocate where the over $28 billion of resources that the state has is allocated. That has to happen. That has to be signed by the governor. The other things are important, but they're not mandated by the Constitution. So if they only pass the budget, that would be kind of that's essential. If they didn't pass anything else, it would be troubling, because there are a lot of other legislative priorities and issues that are important for the state that we need to have some movement on. But they have to pass the budget, to answer your question. That's the one set of policies and laws and rules that they have to pass. They have to get to the governor pursuant to the Constitution.
Wow. Well, if that's all they get done, that's pretty sad, I'd have to say.
Yeah, and actually be pretty harmful, because there are some good ideas moving around the legislature that we need to get through the process. 4 weeks, I will say, this is a long time. This is the time in session where they tend to get more bills passed than the first part. So I'm not going to turn the lights out yet. But the work has to be done, and we've got to get back to some of the legislative stuff.
Hey, Rodney Boyd, thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, see you, buddy. Thank you very much. Rodney Boyd, host of Insider Talk Sundays noon to 1. Right here on FM News Talk 97.1. All right, quick break. I'm going to get to your phone calls, 314-241-9797.